Third term for Trump. Here's the thing. Before we talk about Trump, before we play the video, as you all know, Chicago's got its problems. Now, why am I bringing up Chicago? Because through a good portion of this city's history, especially, in this modern day and age, we had a father and son rule over this city for 40 plus years. You had Old Man Daley, 20 years. And then, of course, you had his son who ruled over longer, 20, 22 years, give or take. All right. And in between, obviously, there were other mayoral administrations. But let me tell you, the problem was not having term limits. A population can get used to somebody being in charge and just not care at all. A system could be put in place where that said person with no term limits can just forever get reelected and reelected and reelected and reelected and not worry about ever being challenged. This is how dictatorships and tyrants rise up. This is how the world gets used to monarchy. This is how the world gets used to, why even bother to vote? It's important for there to be term limits. And in Chicago alone, it's been a struggle to put in term limits for mayor. Now, thank goodness, after the ending of Rahm Emanuel's 2 terms, because he was going to run again were it not for the shooting death of Laquan McDonald, he would have ran for a 3rd term and possibly could have won. Since then, we had Lori Lightfoot, who was only a 1-term mayor. And yes, it's most likely that Mayor Brandon Johnson will be a 1-term mayor. But at no point in time do I think that a president or any politician should have unlimited term limits. I mean, how has term limits fared us in the United States Senate? It's been pretty terrible. The United States Senate's now a glorified old folks' home. That's not working good for us. So here's Trump being questioned about a term limits or whether or not he should run for a 3rd term. Now, he kind of gives a wishy-washy answer to it, but let's talk about it. Sorry about that, folks. Let me remove that. It's this one. Sorry about that, folks. Let's pull this up here.
Story. I know it's hypothetical right now, but if you were allowed for some reason to run for a 3rd term, is there a thought that the Democrats could try to run Barack Obama against you?
I'd love that.
For his 3rd term?
Boy, I'd love that. That would be a good one. I'd like that. No, people are asking me to run, and there's a whole story about running for a 3rd term. I don't know. I never looked into it. They do say there's a way you can do it, but I don't know about that. But I have not looked into it. I want to do a fantastic job. We have 4 years, just about, almost close to 4 years. Time is flying, but it's still close to 4 years. And we're getting a lot of credit for having done a great job in the first almost 100 days. And we have some big things we're going to be announcing over the next 2 days that you know very well, Peter. And I think it's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of wealth back to our country, tremendous wealth back to our country, actually. And
so, yes, there has been that talk about Trump running again. Of course, I wanted to play its full entirety because you heard from the beginning, because the Democrats are playing on board with it too. This is a dangerous game. A Barack Obama, Donald Trump rematch or fight, because now the Democrats are maybe potentially pushing the idea of running Barack Obama again against Trump, possibly. Now, first of all, on the one hand, that's showing hypocrisy on both sides, because I heard people screaming from the rooftop saying, Trump will run again for a 3rd term. It's going to be effective. And then, on the other hand, now they're talking about running Barack Obama, which then you're going to have the conservatives saying, oh, Obama's going to bring in communism. This is Stalinism. And both parties are pushing this idea along. Now, of course, there's going to be a lot of idiots adding in here. Now, clearly, there's a lot of legislation, thank goodness, that could prevent a 3rd term, okay? We've only had one imperial presidency, and that was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, okay? And he died on his 4th term, but he was elected to rule over this country, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times, and he died on his 4th term. We could have potentially another imperial presidency way early on. That was through Theodore Roosevelt, but he chose not to run, okay? And his 1st term was actually him filling in for the last years of William McKinley. Then he ran for his official term, but he chose not to run again for a 2nd term. So we could have had imperial presidency towards Theodore Roosevelt, but we didn't. Now, there is legislation in place to prevent that, but I want to pull up another video here where, again, Trump is talking about third term, another third term.
You said you were not joking about a third term, about possibly wanting a third term. Does that mean you're not planning to leave office on January 20th?
I'm not looking at that, but I'll tell you, I have had more people ask me to have a third term, which is, in a way, it's fourth term, because the other election, the 2020 election was totally rigged. So it's actually sort of a fourth term in a certain way. I just don't want the credit for the second, because Biden was so bad. He did such a bad job. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm popular. If you want to know the truth, I think I'm popular because we've done a great job. I think we've had the best almost 100 days of it.
Hold on. I also want to make a correction here, too. Salty Digital Dive, you're absolutely correct. Thank you for correcting my error. I almost forgot. I think Washington had the option too. Yes, there was talk about Washington potentially staying in longer, which he refused. And I think that's a smart move, a two-term presidency. But here's the thing. You know, is it too wrong? Is it too much of a big dream to ask our politicians to be like the brave Cincinnatus? You know, he became dictator of Rome during a time of war. And what did Cincinnatus do? He reluctantly left his farm to become the hero of Rome. Of course, I'm over-exaggerating all of this. But once the crisis was over, he stepped down from the reins of power and went back to his farm. And only then, when another crisis came, did he take up the reins of power, only to release it. There's a little bit more to the story of Cincinnatus, but he was a true Roman for all true Romans.
Any president, and most people are saying that it's an honor. We're bringing back our country. We're respected as a country again, and we're strongly respected. And people are amazed. I was with some very important people today, and they said that they've never seen a turnaround of the country as fast as this. Even look at our border. We have nobody coming in. And you can't come into our country, but you have to come in legally. But we have nobody coming in to our country. It's almost shut down. They've never seen anything like this.
At an appropriate precedent limits a president to 2 terms. Is it your understanding that they have to
I don't even want to talk about it. I'm just telling you, I have had more people say, please run again. They said, we have a long way to go before we even think about that. But I've had a lot of people.
Yes, and that's a bad thing. We don't want there to be unlimited term limits for the office of presidency because it's done so much of a great job in the United States Senate and House. I mean, no term limits. What went wrong? Oh, I don't know. You had careerist politicians implement neoliberal policies, both Democrat and Republican, all the while also doing insider trading, creating rules and laws and legislation not only protect themselves, but their corporate owners. I mean, donors.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think that's an appropriate precedent to set, even if it wasn't you in this position, to see a president serve a 3rd term?
I don't want to talk about a 3rd term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. You know, we have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we do. Most importantly, they love the job we do.
So I want to pull up another video here. It's from a good friend of the show. Do you condemn ad hominem? Because Piers Morgan also had this conversation about a 3rd term. Now, again, this whole clown show, I want to first of all calm everyone down here. There are rules in place to prevent a 3rd term. And Trump, let's just take this as him humoring and joking about it. But the one thing about Trump is once he starts talking about it and joking about it and talking about it more, then he starts going for it. AKA, look at how he wants to have Greenland either become independent, a protectorate, or territory of the United States. Same thing like how he keeps on making that jab joke about Canada becoming the 51st state. He could joke about it, talk about it until one day it just goes off and heads, maybe that's a good idea, boss.
Further amended to potentially facilitate a president who wishes to serve more than 2 terms.
Pierce, I refuse to answer that question. And I refuse to answer it because this entire debate is dumb. Donald Trump has a way of making his critics take the bait. Don't take this bait. Donald Trump, no matter how his second term goes, and I hope it goes well, is going to leave the political scene, leave the presidency in 2029, on January 20th, 2029. He will not run for re-election. He cannot run per the Constitution for re-election. There are other mechanisms. You could have the vice president become president, and then he could appoint Donald Trump his vice president, and then he could step down and Donald Trump could assume the presidency. That would be within the Constitution, but it's foolish. It won't happen. This is Trump trolling everybody, and just don't fall for it. Trump does these funny things. Just go on to the normal things we should talk about, tariffs and all the other controversies.
Yes, but see, the thing is, he's right here on the point. Look, there is a process. There are rules in place to prevent a third term. However, let's just drop down the Uno reverse card. History has shown that sometimes people don't give a damn what's written on a piece of paper. And throughout history, from antiquity all the way up in here to modern era, if somebody wants to seize the reins of power, they will. Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Octavian, Aurelian, had to mention the world's hero, Napoleon, that German guy, first name Adolf, last name Hitler. You got Stalin. All these people. And there's a treasure Genghis Khan. All these warlords and tyrants, dictators, emperors, kings. They want to remain in power, they will. Even if those who got elected in office, if they want to remain in power and be president for life, it has happened. And it would be foolish enough for us to say that it can't happen here. Now, I think as a country, we've been very lucky. However, it has happened. We've had mayors and governors, senators, representatives be in power longer than just 2 or 4 years, sometimes 8 years, 10 years, or 20 years. And that's a dangerous precedent to set, because if it goes all the way up to the office of the executive for president of the United States, what does that say for us in the long run? It's easy to joke about. And yes, maybe Trump is baiting his critics, but who's to say that somebody won't think, that might be a good idea to become president for life?
This is not one that even is worth spending time on. He's having fun.
Well, we're gonna get to the other stuff, which I agree is probably more important, as I said in the monologue. But again, look, I'm a Brit. In Britain, I see lots of people, raging away about this, but seemingly forgetting that in the UK there is no term limit for prime ministers. You can literally serve for the whole of your natural life if you manage to persuade your party and the country that you're popular enough. So, Margaret Thatcher has served 4 terms, Tony Blair did 3 terms, and so on. There is no term limit. Obviously, in the US, I think my understanding is there's not always been a 2-term limit. So when did that actually come in, Ari?
And correction here too, again, we did. We had FDR. He was our first one, our first imperial president, right? After him, there were term limits put in place. So it did happen. But it shouldn't happen at all, period.
Right after Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that was a change, and the Constitution was amended. You could serve more than 2 terms from 1789, when our Constitution was created, right up till after World War II. FDR served 4 terms. The Constitution was amended. You can only be elected 2 terms. That's what the Constitution currently states, and that's why this is a non-issue. And I can understand people are taking the bait. My advice to people is enjoy your day. Go on. Don't worry about this. It will not happen. And I say that to the people who absolutely love Donald Trump. It will not happen.
All right, Van Lathan, are you reassured that it will not happen? Or when the president of the United States says he's thinking about it, do you take him?
He's talking to the cowboy hat guy, okay? Listen. And yes, we should be concerned about this, but then this is also how you have the vote blue, no matter who people over-exaggerate and start screaming.
Seriously.
Yeah, so normally I probably wouldn't, because you think about, I take them seriously. I mean, you think about all the things that would have to happen. You think about, the constitutional amendment and all of that. And you think, oh, this is just bluster. This is just Trump spinning a yarn. The only thing is that he didn't want to leave the first time. So he was voted out of office in a free and fair election and spent a whole conspiracy to create fake electors, and had a bunch of people on at the Capitol, which ended up in a very embarrassing and dangerous situation for the American government. And he essentially created an entire political movement around a lie, trying to subvert an election. So I'm not understanding why, when I've seen him mobilize in that way, that I should just think that he's messing around now. I think that if Donald Trump has it in his grasp or his sphere of power to stay on for a third term, that he would definitely do it. He would definitely do it. And the reason why I know that he would definitely do it is because there would be absolutely zero resistance from the rank and file on his side to stop him. They would
No, I'm going to put a pause here because this is more just Trump derangement syndrome. Listen, I don't think anybody wants there to be a president running for more than 2 terms. I think it's a horrible idea, and nobody wants it. Nobody wants it because as soon as you have your guy run for more than 1 or 2 terms, then if your opposition gets into power, guess what? Their guy or gal can run for however many terms they see fit. And then it's a matter of which imperial dynasty was your favorite, which royal house was your favorite. No. There are rules put in place, but the fact that you have people even, because here's where the Democrats shoot themselves in the foot. The fact that you have Democrats humoring the idea, and while I don't see that happening, of running Barack Obama again, they're showing their hypocrisy. So in other words, they don't want Trump to run for an imperial presidency, but they'd have their guy or gal run for an imperial presidency, and that would be Obama. And everything went swimmingly well under Barack Obama, right? Went from 2 wars to 7, got rid of habeas corpus. Nobody was held accountable for 2008 economic disaster. Whistleblowers being arrested. Everything was fine. Stop asking questions, people. Don't look into it. Just remember, hope and change. And let's bring back the imperial presidency. Cross the Rubicon, folks. No to imperial presidencies. Do I see this as a joke? Yes. But remember, folks, it can and very well could happen here because it's happened before with mayors, senators, and House representatives. And yes, through the presidency of FDR as well. We have to put a halt to things. We have to remember that the only way these politicians can get away with all this crap is through our own silent, obedient consent and our inaction. And it is our social responsibility as the real masters of this country to step up.